Here's the thing. Birds are real, and it's mean to say that they're not. Bet you didn't think I still knew how to do that after all this time.
Yeah, long time no see or long time no listen, whichever you do. But
Yeah,
we're back.
it's been a while.
It
Certainly
has been a
no, I
while.
mean it's just been 1 week, right, since our last episode. Definitely not over a month. But we are back. We're happy to be back. There was an incident where my head got hit by something very heavy. My brain slammed into the side of my skull and I had a concussion. And then after that, we just kind of forgot to do it again. But now we're back. We remembered.
We remembered. Also I'll take some responsibility. I've been a little busy as well, but the people have been waiting, so we have to deliver.
We're here. We're here. We're ready to
We're
deliver
here.
on all of our promises. There's definitely been no forgotten promises from last episode.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Well,
Um,
how's it? It has been a while. We are now in February. I think we last recorded in December.
yeah,
So we have some field notes to catch up on. What's been going on? What have you been seeing?
we do. I haven't been out alone too much. But I guess I'll get started with I think what happened most recently since we did our last episode. I had my winter break, so I was driving my way back up from Virginia Beach to Massachusetts, so of course had to make a pit stop in Philly, uh, see my podcast co-host, and just hang out in Philly for a bit. Um, yeah, Sam was like, "Oh, we should just go to John Hines, that's our spot, that kind of thing." And I said, "Sam, we need to broaden our horizons just a little bit. John Hines doesn't even have any water right now. So it's like, let's try something different."
It's got a little
Uh,
bit of water now.
it's
I
got a
mean,
little
well,
bit of
now it's
water now.
frozen, but
Hmm. So this is somewhere I've been wanting to try for the past like year or so that when I was living in Philly, but we just never got around to it. On eBird, it was like kind of restricted, like it had some like weird we didn't think it would be super accessible because it's the water treatment plant of
the
Philadelphia,
Northeast Water Treatment
the
Plant.
Northeast Water Treatment Plant. Yeah. Um there's a lot of talk about cave swallows being there, stuff like that. And we didn't get to see any of those, but we did see three lifers, which
Yeah,
was unexpected. People were saying there was a black-headed gull there, which is like brand new for the state of Pennsylvania, I think.
yeah,
So I think
super
that was
common
the
if you're on the coast. Like you've
yeah,
probably seen a black-headed gull, but not in Philly. So
and so yeah, I think that was our like target for when we went there. But we ended up seeing two more birds, which was also really cool. We saw a fox sparrow and a hooded warbler.
both very cool. The fox sparrow, seeing it made me feel really silly for all the times where I saw a sparrow and I was like, "Ooh, that might be a fox sparrow." No, it's really noticeable. You can really tell when you see a fox sparrow.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. It was like any bird that was like a little reddish brown, it's definitely just like a different chipping sparrow or something like that. But we are like, oh yeah, that might be a fox sparrow. It's got a little red in there. When you actually see a fox sparrow, it's
Yeah,
like rust colored. Like
yeah, you
it's
can
very
tell.
obvious.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then the hooded
Um,
warbler for December, also really cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And there's some like interesting reasons as to why those birds were in that exact spot. I don't know if you want to
Mhm.
go into that.
Yeah, so fortunate for us, there was a couple ex really knowledgeable birders as well. When we were there, they were also looking for the black-headed gull, which we did see. So we were asking like why are these like cool birds like at this water treatment plant right now? So from what I remember, the water treatment plant is, well, we went there in the winter. The water treatment plant is relatively much warmer than like the surrounding area. So a lot of birds and insect, or not a lot of birds, a lot of insects lay their larvae in that like warmer environment. The larvae hatch and they kind of have nowhere to go, so it's just like an easy food source for a lot of these birds, especially in the colder climate. He told us what the specifically the larva or like the insect species was, but I forget. It might have been
Yeah,
some like dragonfly
it's
larva or something.
something like that, or like maybe some midges. There were definitely yeah some bugs. So it was just kind of like a microclimate in and of itself, and
Hmm.
so we saw some summery birds in the cold winter.
Yeah, super cool. I knew you got some field notes, so let me just rattle off some of mine really quick. If I didn't mention in the last episode, I finally got to see a pileated woodpecker, which is very exciting.
Got a good
Um,
picture too.
got a good picture of one. Yeah, to my Instagram followers, I know I haven't been posted. But and I know you all are very upset about that. So I'll get back to it at some point. I was in Stowe, Vermont, for a little ski trip. I pointed out we were on the mountain, like in the little like near the lodge, a little village area where there's some trees. And I pointed out, I was like, "Hey guys, look, there's some black-capped chickadees. Isn't that so cool?" None of them cared. Um,
How you not going to care about a
s
black-capped chickadee?
well, it was like, oh yeah, Keish, that's great. And then they walked away. So yeah, it was one of those situations. Didn't get to bird when I was back home. Colder than I expected it to be in Virginia Beach. Haven't been super motivated to go out, but I want to. So
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. I'm free tomorrow. So
hmm Yeah, I
all
mean,
right.
it
So
if you're listening to this in the future, as I'm sure you are, I'm sure these episodes will be making the rounds 15, 30, 50 years into the future. The winter of 2025 into 2026 on the eastern coast of Connecticut, especially not Connecticut, America, has been really cold,
yeah.
super cold, including in Connecticut, including in Philadelphia, including in Virginia Beach. So birding has been harder and harder to do, both from a standpoint of like it's really cold, being outside hurts my skin, and also from the standpoint of it snowed like, 10 inches here 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's not been above freezing. So it's the snow's still everywhere. And so it's hard to drive. It's hard, like the parking lots haven't been cleared out, the paths haven't been shoveled. So it's harder to go out, but we've gone out a little bit. Like Keish mentioned, we went out when he was here on the way up to Massachusetts. Also on the way down, stopped by, and I did get him to go to John Hines, our old
Oh
stomping
yes.
grounds. We did see, at least I saw a lifer. I think you did too, the American tree sparrow.
Oh yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The American tree
Yep.
sparrow. Yeah.
And then I mean, we saw a merlin. Was that a lifer for you, or had you seen a
I
merlin before?
Dude, I totally forgot this whole outing. Yes, I thought I had seen a Merlin. And oh, dude, yes, this memory's coming back. We weren't sure
Mhm.
if it was a Merlin or not for a
No, it
bit,
was
but definitely
totally
a Merlin.
backlit. Yeah.
I thought we saw one at Sashuis, but now that I'm remembering it, it was definitely like a red-shouldered hawk or something. Definitely not even
Yeah,
close to
that
one.
one that was sitting in the tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, Merlin also new lifer for us. Shout out Merlin, the app. If you haven't
yeah, shout
gotten
out
it and
Merlin the
you've
app.
listened to the pod for this long, just get the app. Like, what are you doing?
Why not? We're not even getting paid.
Yeah.
It's a free app. Like you don't need a discount code or anything. You just
There's no
download it.
ads or anything. It's like the best free
No.
app ever.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. Um, but I was in Connecticut, which is why I said Connecticut earlier. And one of the very, very nice gifts that I got for the holiday season was from producer Rochelle. She got me a spotting scope. I have not had a spotting scope before, but I have one now. So I had to take it out and, try it out. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is with birds that are larger and don't move around too much. So like water birds that are pretty easy to spot and see. So we went out to, you know, the Connecticut coast, good old Long Island Sound, most beautiful water in the world. Definitely not green and filled with jellyfish. And we did see a lot of birds, a lot of good ducks, and some lifers. So I saw a long-tailed duck, which was cool. Not in its
That's
breeding
really cool.
plumage, so not quite as, brilliant, but it had a long tail still, and it was really very cool to see. Also, a white-winged scoter, which looks like
Ah,
a black scoter with a white wing. And red-throated loon. There were a lot of loons. Connecticut has a bunch of loons. I always forget this, but in the winter especially, there are so many loons in Connecticut. And so we saw a lot of common loons, but we also saw a red-throated loon, which in the off season, in the non-breeding season, it's really hard to tell them apart.
Hmm.
But they're smaller. They're like pretty significantly smaller, and their bills are like thin. And you can tell it's just hard. Um,
Yeah, I've never seen a red-throated loon, but we were expecting, or like at least trying to see one last time we went to Sashua, so I looked into them a little bit. I almost think of them as like grebe-sized a little bit
mhm.
because they're
Yeah,
definitely smaller than a common loon, and like you said, they have that thin bill,
yeah.
similar silhouette. Um, Dang, I gotta get up to Connecticut, I guess, if I want to see some red-throated loons.
Yeah, I mean it's the place. The further up north you go, I think probably the better chance you have. But definitely
Yeah.
confirmed in Connecticut in the winter. It was really windy. It was really cold. We did not stay out for very long, but we did see that. And then when we got back, I still wanted to test out my scope, and I figured, well, why not test it out somewhere where instead of carrying it around, I can drive it around. So we went to um, Forsyth, Edwin B. Forsyth National Wildlife Refuge. Couldn't remember the name, but on New Jersey, the like Jersey coast, and that's a place we've gone before. It's a place saw like black skimmers there. We saw the stilts there,
Oyster catchers.
oyster catchers, like so much good stuff there. So we went back and just tried to see, whatever we could see, and so we saw usual suspects, a million great blue herons and gulls, terns everywhere.
Hmm.
And what was pretty cool was like probably like 200 or 300 snow geese. I had only ever seen one snow goose at a time, and this was just there was a whole pack of them. There were flocks of them flying in the air. It was really cool coming across this thing of snow geese. There are pictures on my Instagram if you want to go check that out. But and then also I did see a lifer because I'd seen a snow goose before, but we did see a lifer, which was the tundra swan. There was a flock of tundra swans.
Uh,
Most swans don't flock together, but tundra swans do. And I'll say this, anyone listening, if you've never heard a tundra swan before, I would recommend listening to it. It's like the most fun bird call I think I've ever heard. Because you think of a swan, I mean, I guess you don't really think of much noise from a mute swan. That's why they're called mute swans, but they still make noise. And
mhm,
trumpeter swans are like loud, trumpety, and you think of them as like big honking, kind of like giant geese.
mhm.
But tundra swans, they make like a really soft like flute sound. It like literally sounds like someone's playing a flute or a recorder, especially when there's like 10 of them
Ah.
all kind of making the call at the same time. Would definitely recommend listening to that call. It was a lot of fun, kind of unexpected. I couldn't figure out what I was listening to,
Yeah,
but
I'll have to
yeah,
check out the Tundra Swan call. That sounds really interesting.
super cool. Yeah, glad to finally see a swan that's like native to America, as I'd only seen mute swans up till this point.
Yeah, I've always been on the lookout for a Tundra Swan every time I see a swan. Tundra Swans have black bills, right? As opposed to
Hmm.
orange.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And their faces are like I'll describe them wrong, but they kind of just have like a mute swan and I think a trumpeter swan have more of like a mask over like their eyes, kind of like a black mask. The
Sure.
tundra swan does not. So it's like black bill, but then just like white and like little beady eyes, which
Hmm.
is kind of fun.
Cool, cool.
Yep. So a lot of good stuff. Also went to the Navy Yard, which is an easy place to set up a scope and saw all things I'd seen before, but saw like 30 canvasbacks, which is a type of duck, which is really cool.
I still haven't seen a canvasback. And I know they've been at the Navy Yard, but that one time we went together, I didn't see one. So
It was like raining. Yeah,
um
it was bad.
yeah, that was a weird day. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you're a real birder now. You got a scope.
I know. It's like terrifying because it's big and I have a tripod to go with it, so I'm carrying around like two big bags. I'm also carrying around my camera, and it kind of looks like a sniper rifle when it's in its bags. Like I'm in the Navy Yard and I'm like zipping this big bag and really hoping that no one arrests me, but haven't
Yeah.
been arrested so far.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, your scope is pretty large. You
Yeah.
definitely get a workout in carrying the camera and the scope around. So,
Mhm. I need it, so it's
uh,
good.
win-win. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any other field notes. Unfortunately, I don't. Um, but
I mean, it's been
we
really hard to go outside because it's
it's been
cold
hard to go
and
out.
like you actually do things with your life, so it's like doubly hard. But I would like to say, I don't think any of my coworkers listen to this anymore, but I have gotten some of my coworkers to participate in a bird spotting competition. So
Ooh.
that's exciting. Our influence is growing.
Yeah, maybe I should do more work to spread the bird propaganda because like how else are we gonna get more uh cult members, I mean followers. So
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. Cool. I think we should move on to the hoot topics. We got a pretty fun one today. So we're just doing one hoot topic today. One from Jacob Kowalski, and I think we're gonna be able to talk about it for a bit. So we're only gonna do one today. We'll save some time for Sam's main topic. But yeah, and now that we're back in action, definitely feel free to send us some more hoot topics. Birdsareal.pod@gmail.com.
Yep. And we've
Right?
got some good ones.
Yeah.
So if you've sent one in between last episode and this episode, don't worry. We're going to get to it. We're just going to spread them out a little bit. So
Yeah.
thank you, Jacob.
So thank you, Jacob. He asks, if you designed a chess set where every piece was a bird, what bird would you use for each piece? Great question. Somewhat timely, given the I don't know if people are into chess, but the candidates tournament's coming up in March. It will decide who's gonna play in the World Chess Championship against Gukesh Domaraji. So
Wow. I didn't know that.
yeah.
We got a chess fan over here.
See, here's the thing. I'm bad at chess, but it's just like it's like any sport where it's like hype, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
someone makes it cool. Yeah, 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 it's cool.
Nice.
Anyway, um, so how should we do this? Let's go piece by piece.
I think so.
What
We've
piece
each
do
created our board. So
yeah.
yeah.
Off screen, off the record, we created our boards. Should we start with let's start with the king. How about that?
The king, sure. Do you
All
want to
right.
go first?
How about you go first? You go first.
Okay. So when I think of the king, I think of a piece that is, you know, iconic, but it's also really slow. It needs a lot of protection, but it also is like kind of extravagant, right? You have your little
Mm-hmm.
pawns, which are just basic pieces, but the king, it's got a little extra care put into that piece. So my thought is the wild turkey, especially one that kind of has its, big turkey feathers,
Mm-hmm.
because, well, they're really slow. They can't really fly. Like they can fly, they can't really fly. And unfortunately, they get hunted like crazy. So they do need some protection, even though
Mm-hmm.
like they're not endangered. But they just th there's a lot of threats coming their way. They need a little help, but they are kind of a big iconic bird.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I went with a similar thought pattern, but I think a slightly different direction. I was also thinking something that needs protection, right? A bird that because that's the whole thing. You protect the king, right? Um, and also I wanted like a big bird just because the kingly presence kind of thing. So when I think protection, I went towards the endangered birds, birds that need protection.
Makes
So I
sense.
went with the California condor.
Ooh, that's a good
um,
one.
an, an imposing presence. When I was looking into it, extinct in the wild in 1987 because people captured them all to like house them in captivity, breed them in like a safe environment, and now they're reintroduced. There's about 350 in the wild, which is not great, but
Better than
um,
zero. Yeah.
better than zero. So yeah, I went with the California condor because it needs some protection.
That's good. And like, like a king on a chessboard can't really hunt itself. It'll like scoop up things that are basically already dead. Same
Yeah.
with a condor, right? They're not hunting, but
hmm
they're eating that carrion.
Yeah, definitely part of my thought process. Definitely didn't just come up with that now. That's great.
Nice.
Uh, cool. All right, let's go with the queen.
The queen. So for the queen, I thought I needed something. Again, I went for aesthetics as well as like chess piece personality. So the queen has that huge crown, right? It's the tallest piece on most chessboards, depending on, the style of your chessboard. And it also like it's a hunter. It can go all over the board. It's a really important, really powerful piece. So I went with the Harpy Eagle. You ever seen one of these, the Harpy
Mm,
Eagle? That's
yeah,
like
no,
a really
that's
scary
awesome.
looking eagle. That thing is huge, and it's got the big ol' head feathers.
Hmm.
I think it works pretty well, and it's a very efficient hunter. I feel like I've seen Instagram posts where people are like, it carries away small children. I don't think that's true, but it is a large hunter.
I think it could if it wanted to, is the thing. So
Yeah.
be careful about that. I think that's a fantastic pick. I went with the Great Horned Owl. Similarly, great hunter. I feel like if owls are really silent hunters. I feel like if you are not looking at all your angles on the chessboard with the queen, it can just snipe you.
Hmm.
And the females tend to be a lot larger than the males, a little more territorial. So just in comparison to the king, you want to protect the king kind of thing.
Nice.
Um, I went with Great Horned Owl.
That's a good pick. I love a great horned owl. Um,
Yeah, especially growing up in New England. So
yeah,
we gotta stand up for the Great Horned Owl there.
gotta represent for sure. What do you have for, boy, we're going from inner to outer. So is that bishop next?
Sure, yeah. The bishop, I went a little basic here, but I think it's good. I went with the Desert Cardinal or the Pierre Haluxia.
Yep,
Cardinal, bishop. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Also, everyone knows what a Northern Cardinal looks like. Look up a Desert Cardinal. They look pretty cool as well.
they're very cool. Well, okay, so I also chose the Desert Cardinal, but I figured there might be some overlap, so I chose a second one,
Yeah.
and it's not the
Okay.
Northern Cardinal. I went something kind of different. I thought, what's distinctive about the bishop, which is that it's really tall and kind of skinny.
Oh, okay.
So I went with the Sandhill crane, which is
Okay.
quite tall, kind of just pokes out there. And I don't know, when we saw them, we saw sandhill cranes, right? Am I making that up now? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
no, we did.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, we saw sandhill cranes. They were walking in a different way than all of the other birds that we saw. They were kind of
Hmm.
cutting through the brush, whereas everyone else was kind of going around and you know, bishops kind of do that diagonally.
Cool. Nice. I think that's a good pick. Um, all right, so wait, what's next? The knight?
Knight.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Um, I went with Okay, so I was half expecting, maybe we both picked Desert Cardinal or something. So I didn't want to double up on the knight again. My initial thought was the Peregrine Falcon because knight's pretty agile. It goes in the L shape, totally different than any of the other birds. So I was thinking like agile birds, right? And then maybe I was thinking American Kestrel, that kind of thing. But then I was thinking about what knights are, and they're very royal and they're very loyal to, the king and the queen. Um, and also, I wanted the agile aspect in there. So I went with the royal turn.
Nice. That's a good one. I feel like not one that would like immediately come to mind, but one that makes
Hmm.
sense. Very cool. I so I also kind of focused on movement. I didn't focus as much on personality with this one as maybe I could have, but
Hmm.
I thought like the knight is the piece that moves unlike any other piece, right? A queen can move the same way any of the other pieces can move except for a knight. So I
Hmm.
thought about birds that move in weird ways, and I went with nuthatches. Since there are two knights, I went with one white-breasted nuthatch, one red-breasted nuthatch. But because of the way they kind of like creep up and down trees,
Hmm.
it's unlike almost any other bird. It's definitely distinctive, and they're also they're always bigger than I think they are. Whenever I see one, it's always much larger than I expected it to be. So I
Hmm.
think it has some of that. Knights are important pieces. These are really pretty large birds. I don't know.
Yeah, also, I mean, similar. I wouldn't expect, for someone to go with the nuthatch for the knight, but I think it totally makes sense.
Nice. All right.
Nice. All right.
Uh, Rook. What do you got for
Rook.
Rook?
Okay.
I I put the
Almost went with the
rook.
rook. I did not put the rook.
Well, okay, I put the
Almost went with
rook
the
and
rook
then
though.
I went with something else afterward. Because I thought that was just a little too basic. I went
Yeah.
with a bird that is, like the rook, if you're playing a game of chess, especially if you're me and you're not very good at games of chess, sometimes the rooks can get a little hidden, a little stuck. Like they don't really make
Hmm.
an impact. You can't really like they're not doing anything on the board. You can't see them very well, just because I'm not freeing them up. And so I thought about a bird that is very still, a bird that is hard to see, but a bird that, like, if I saw it, is similar to if I got a rook going in a chess game ever, I would be very excited and very happy. So I went with the Eastern Whippoorwill, because they can
Interesting.
kind of stand just like a statue, pretend to be a rock for hours at a time.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I did not expect you to go that way. I'm glad we both acknowledge that, haha, rook, rook. But I went so with the rook, I was more thinking, um, it goes straight all the way up or straight all the way to the left or right. It's a very straightforward, very like in your face kind of piece. And also I think the rook is based off like a castle's like I don't know what they're called, ramparts, rafters.
Turret,
That like the turret thing is ram.
yeah,
I think I just quoted the Star Spangled Banner out of nowhere. Ramparts.
yeah.
Anyway, anyway, so I was thinking more of like some protection, some defense, right? I went with the shoe bill. Do you know what shoe bill is?
Oh yeah, I know what a shoe bill is. That's
Yeah,
cool.
you probably have seen the shoe bill just in on the internet, even if you haven't heard of it. I'll just look it up. It's like the dinosaur looking bird with like a crazy beak. It's also, I think, known as the whale-headed stork.
That makes sense.
But shoebill, very dinosaur-like looking bird. That beak looks like it can do some damage. Really sturdy. So it's what I went with for the rook.
Nice. I think that's good. And like similar to, you know, my pick for something that can stand still for a while. I think those guys can
It's
stand
true.
still for quite a while, waiting for, fish and such to come by.
Yeah, for sure.
Very
We're
good.
last up on the
Yep.
pond.
hmm
Okay.
I
I went a little silly with this one. You go first.
okay. So there is one I really want to go with, but it's a bird we talk about all the time,
Mhm.
but it works so well. I really want to put the American woodcock just because it's like the slowest bird ever. It flies the slowest that any bird flies. When
Yeah.
when it walks really slow and it just goes in like a straight line, very slowly, which is what ponds do. But in the spirit of content, and not making people listen to me talk about the Timberdoodle Tango over and over, I went with the bee hummingbird, which is the smallest
Mm.
bird, about 3 centimeters wingspan. I mean, it zips all around, so personality-wise, it doesn't really fit, but I still went with it just to have something.
Nice, nice. I my initial thought was going with the European starling. It's, you have more pawns than any other piece on the
Yeah,
board, like a ton of them.
that's true.
Um, and yeah, so that's my initial thought. I did end up going with the American woodcock.
Yeah,
Similar reasons,
it's
like
perfect. It fits
it's
perfectly.
going one place in front, and that's
hmm
what it's doing, and that's what you're
And
getting out of it.
and it's going so
Um,
slowly.
it's going slowly, but hey, listen, once the American woodcock gets to the end of the board, some legendary stuff's gonna happen.
I know. So,
It's gonna transform into a harpy eagle.
yeah. And in this case, the end of the board is anywhere in front of us that we can see. Once we finally see that American woodcock, like we're gonna
Yeah,
transcend.
exactly, exactly. Um, Great. Okay, so really quickly, my board is the king's going to be the California condor, the queen's going to be the great horned owl, rook's going to be the shoebill, knight's going to be the royal tern, bishop's going to be the desert cardinal, and the pawn is going to be the American woodcock.
All right, mine is king is the wild turkey, queen is the harpy eagle, rook is the whippoorwill, the eastern whippoorwill, northern whippoorwill, eastern whippoorwill.
I think you should.
Yep. The knight, one white-breasted and one red-breasted nuthatch. Bishop is going to be the sandhill crane, And the pawn, I'm just gonna make it the woodcock too. It's too perfect. I'm putting the woodcock in there also.
All right, there we go. Awesome. I think
Yeah.
that's a great chessboard.
Jacob would love to hear from you. What's your chessboard? And all of our listeners would love to hear from you too. What are your bird chessboards? I think yours
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
beats mine if they go, head to head, but you're probably better than me at chess also, so that works out.
I think we played that one time. I don't remember who won,
You
but
won.
I think we're okay. I think we're both bad at chess. I think that's
Yeah.
the lesson. I think that's the
Yeah.
lesson here. Cool. Yeah, thanks Jacob for that great question. That was a lot of fun answering that. And like Sam said, if you want to let us know your chessboards, send us a DM on Instagram. Birds are real pod
Yep. At Birds Are a
at
Real
birds are
Pod.
real pod or
We
our email.
Some of you have DM'd us and it's been a few weeks since anyone's responded to you. I'm sorry about that. I get nervous about responding to DMs, so I don't do it, but I will. I promise I will. So as we've mentioned, it's been cold lately. It's been really cold. I think the chill right now is like negative 12 degrees. Uh, that can be tough for a lot of people. I like to say that I thrive in the cold, but even this is a little too cold for me. But there is a silver lining, which is that the Winter Olympics have started. You watching any? You
Oh
have any favorite
yes.
Olympic sports? Winter Olympic sports?
Um, no, I haven't been watching it. I did see that Lindsey Vaughn is participating with like a ruptured ACL, which like doesn't make sense to me.
Yep,
Like
100% tore her ACL
fit
one week ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
like anatomically how that's feasible. But yeah, no, I haven't I don't really keep up with the Winter Olympics. I'll be honest, but I feel like I could get into illusion bobsled. That just looks cool.
yeah. I mean, those it goes so fast. I was watching some earlier today. They go through the course in less than a minute, and the course is 1 mile long. So it's like if you're driving
Wow.
on the highway and there's just
60
some
miles an
guys
hour.
sledding next to you. That's how fast they're going.
That's wild. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, and
it's yeah.
I think the speed skating I also think is super cool.
Speed
Speed
skating is really
skating.
fun. Yeah, big
Yeah,
fan
yeah.
of speed skating. So that's a nice like respite from the cold. You can watch
Hmm.
other people be cold and show off, the bounds of human limits. But the cold can also be tough on most birds too.
Hmm.
They prefer a lot of them prefer when it's warmer, but there is one type of bird that thrives in the cold. A bird that you may associate with ice, a bird that famously can't fly. Obviously, I'm talking about the common ostrich. No, I'm talking about
Yeah.
penguins. Penguins.
Okay.
Good old penguins. I've been thinking a lot about the Winter Olympics lately. I've been thinking a lot about penguins, and here's my hypothesis. I think if you took penguins of various types and stuck them in the Olympics, they'd be able to win a lot of these sports.
Yeah, I mean, especially we just said like luge and all of that. I
Hmm.
think they win gold and silver and bronze, all of them.
Yeah.
Humans
I mean,
wouldn't stand a chance.
exactly. But like
Yeah.
there are a wide variety of sports in the Winter Olympics, right?
Hmm.
So there's not just the downhill, there's also curling and there's hockey and
Oh,
there's,
curling. Okay.
the biathlon where you ski and you shoot. Uh
Yeah,
there's
there's
a
a
whole
bunch
lot
of
of
different
different stuff.
skiing events that I don't know what they
Hmm.
are, but yeah.
But luckily for us, there's also a wide variety of penguins. I think in a sense that people don't always think about. You normally think of penguin, you think, oh, there is the penguin. But there's actually a lot of different types of penguins.
Hmm.
When I say a penguin, like what do you think of? Describe the platonic ideal of a penguin.
Well, I'm gonna not answer your question real quick. I'm gonna say something
Cool.
else. Um, penguins, were like my like signature back in the day. I don't know if you remember this. They
I
were
do
like
remember
my,
this.
they used to call me the Banksy of penguins. I mean, I don't know how many people call me that, but some people did. And I think I would always just draw, like you said, my like platonic ideal of a penguin, just like, generic penguin. I think I would just go with like your emperor penguin type of deal. Um, But like, so you want me to describe one?
Sure. Yeah, describe a
Okay.
penguin. For those of you who know have no idea what a penguin is, what are we talking about?
We're talking about a dude that is kind of oval shaped. He's got some black. He's got a white belly. Can have, black bill, orange bill, yellow bill kind of deal with like a matching set of flippers. Um, but yeah, just like a little oval guy, black and
Yep.
white.
Yeah, I mean that's quite accurate. All penguins are like dark on their back, white on their stomach. You know why that is?
I think it's to camouflage when they're swimming.
Yep,
If they're
because if you're
diving
looking
down and
up,
someone's like, yeah,
yeah, if you're
sorry, you go
looking
ahead.
down, it's dark on their back. You can't see it.
Yeah.
If you're looking up, white on their stomach, harder to see. Sharks are the same way. Um,
Sharks are the same way, seemingly for different reasons. They just don't want to be seen because they want to attack
yeah,
instead of
yeah,
not be attacked. But yeah,
yeah.
similar
Um,
concept.
but we normally think of a penguin exactly like that. Waddling around on ice, maybe sliding around on ice, diving into the water. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. Hmm?
Good
Uh,
pun.
there are 18 different species of penguin across six genuses. And while most of them do live in the like southern tip of the southern hemisphere, so Antarctica and surrounding islands, they do live in like warmer places. The emperor penguin is the only penguin that stays in Antarctica year round, does breeding year
Okay.
round. The other ones all kind of go away. Some of them don't even make it down to Antarctica. So the rest they can be found anywhere from like Chile up and down the Chilean coast, not even just the southern tip, New
Interesting.
Zealand, even Namibia and the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands are partly in the northern hemisphere, so there are some northern hemisphere penguins, which is really interesting. But
Huh, I would not have expected that.
yeah,
That's really interesting. Yeah.
it is, yeah. So I'm going to give a brief overview of each of the genuses of penguins because most of the genuses, the species within, are pretty similar.
hmm
But just to give a little overview, the first we have our crested penguins. These are the penguins from like Surf's Up, I think was the animated movie. They're the ones
Yeah.
that have the like yellow eyebrows. They, I mean, they're super cool. Everyone loves a crested penguin, right? We're talking macaroni penguins, rockhopper penguins, those kind of penguins.
hmm
Most of them do live in a radius around Antarctica, but that radius includes like New Zealand and the southern tip of South America, which when you're looking
hmm
at a map, how you normally look at it, it's just like flat. That seems really weird. But if you look at a globe, actually, they're way closer than you think they are. Just because of,
What,
I don't know.
like the southern tip of South America and Antarctica, you mean? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and New Zealand. Like if you think of, flying from like, you know, the tip of Chile to New Zealand,
hmm
normally you're just looking at a map, so you think you got to fly like all the way across there, but you can just fly
Oh,
right over Antarctica, you're there.
I see what you're saying. Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so the crests, they do have a purpose. There's a purpose that you would probably expect them to have, and a purpose that you might not expect them to have. So when you think of like very visible plumage,
hmm
why do most birds have that?
Imagine for mating purposes and for like territorial, like dominance
Hmm.
establishment purposes.
Yeah. So definitely like mating, you want to have the most extravagant eyebrows, but also penguin habitats overlap a lot, even like not just in one genus, but among all genuses. So like penguins, they do have colonies, most species, and they want to, do what's best for their colony. The other penguins are competition. So
hmm
when they're underwater and it's really hard to see, you can only really see colors, right? Like the dark light from above and below. But then there's also this bright yellow. So if you're swimming around, you're a macaroni penguin, and you see a bunch of other penguins swimming around. If there's other yellow eyebrows swimming around there, oh, cool, not competition. We're all in this together. But if you see them without the yellow eyebrows, then, oh, there's some people in here. Better change up our hunting strategy. So
hmm
that's kind of, I didn't expect that to be the use of those yellow eyebrows. But
Just like re recognizing your own species kind of thing. Yeah,
Yep,
pretty
when
cool.
underwater, especially
When
when it's kind of
underwater, yeah.
murky. hmm
Yeah.
Next, we have a genus. I'm not reading the Latin names of these genuses, genii. I don't know, because I don't speak
Hmm.
Latin. You don't want to hear that. This is called the banded penguins. So
Okay.
if you've ever, if you're in like America mostly, if you've ever seen a penguin in a zoo or an aquarium, it's probably a banded penguin of some sort. And that's because these are the penguins that live in the warmest areas that penguins live. So the African penguin lives on the coast of South Africa and Namibia. The Galapagos penguin, unsurprisingly, lives in the Galapagos Islands. There's the Humboldt penguin, which lives up to the
Hmm.
coast of Peru, which is pretty far north in South
Wow.
America. The more
Yeah.
north you go, the warmer it is. So they're better suited to live in like zoos and aquariums in temperate climates, like, where we are, because they don't need to be as cold year round. It gets pretty warm here in the summer, and that doesn't bother them as much as it would like an emperor penguin.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Here's a fun fact about the banded penguin, which is actually a mean fact, but fun fact. Some people call them jackass penguins because they have these loud calls that kind of sound like a donkey.
Hmm. Interesting. Good to
Yeah.
know. Wait, what are some species within this within this genus?
Yeah, the African penguin, that's
Oh,
one.
like oh yeah, okay, okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
The Galapagos penguin, the
Got it.
Humboldt penguin, those are
Oh
all
yeah, never mind. I
species.
just totally slipped my mind. Cool.
Hey, that's
Nice.
okay. Sometimes repetition is key. Uh,
It is key.
we'll bring in up all of those species like later in the episode to finish out the rule of threes. You always want to have
Awesome.
things pop up three
Good.
times.
Hmm.
But cool. The penguins that, if you've ever seen one in person and you're not somewhere where they naturally live, this is probably the kind of penguin you've seen. Next are the brush-tailed penguins. These are penguins, they have long, stiff tail feathers, so like longer tails than most penguins have. You think of a penguin, you don't normally think of a tail, right? They
No,
have
definitely
tails,
don't.
but these ones have especially long tails. This includes, I believe, a former star of our podcast, the Adelaide penguin.
Hmm. Definitely got to mention.
hmm So, similar to the eyebrows on the crested penguins, these long tails do have a purpose beyond just aesthetics. So the thing with these penguins and most penguins is when they're not swimming, they spend like half of their life swimming, including sleeping. They can sleep in the water, but they also spend the other half on land. So a lot of penguins, they're on the coast. It's really rocky. It's not like beaches, sand beaches. It's not always Antarctica unless you're an emperor penguin.
Hmm.
But those can be rocky. They can be unstable. They can be hard to like balance on, especially if you're a flightless bird. So they actually use these long tails with the really stiff tail feathers as like an extra appendage to hold their balance while
It's
they're kind
cool.
of waddling around. Yeah.
It's kind of like a
So
monkey.
exactly. Yeah. It's very good. My favorite of the brush-tailed penguins, we've mentioned the Adelaide penguin. There's this one called the chin strap penguin, which it just looks like it has a little chin strap like that. If you ever watched Grey's Anatomy, it looks like McSteamy from the early episodes. If you were a penguin, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. It's really something. But chin strap penguin, pretty good.
Nice. It's
Um,
really funny. Like, if you just asked me to name a bunch of penguin species, I would not have been able to come up with the chinstrap penguin. But as soon as you said it, it's just like a old memory that I like totally forgot. I was like, of
yeah,
course, the chinstrap penguin.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, it's kind of the thing with penguins, right? Because they aren't up where we live, we don't really think about the different species. So we fall into this like platonic ideal of just like penguin rather than here's all
Hmm.
the species.
Right.
The last genus that has more than one species to go over is the great penguins. And this is the one that everyone's really familiar with, especially if you've watched March of the Penguins. I assume everyone has watched March of the Penguins, but in case you have not watched March of the Penguins, the emperor penguin is one of the great penguins. And the emperor penguin is the biggest penguin alive, the heaviest penguin alive. It can be like between 3 and 4 feet tall, up to about 100 pounds. That's pretty plump proportions there.
Hmm.
They are so plump because, as I mentioned earlier, they're the only penguin that spends basically their entire life in Antarctica throughout like the cold, cold winter of, they breed there and they need to stay warm. So they have a lot of, blubber for a lack of better word. They huddle together to maintain their warmth. But yeah, they are very large penguins, much larger than any of the others, except for the other great penguin, which is the king penguin, which is almost the same as the emperor penguin. It is a little smaller, and it doesn't spend all its time in Antarctica. But here is a fun fact about great penguins. I think it applies to all penguins, but I did see it specifically for great penguins. You know how geese have like teeth on their tongues?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Great penguins have that too. They have like sharp barbs, almost like hooks, like fish hooks on their tongues. So when they're zipping around the water trying to catch fish, they hold on to them better with these like sharp tongues.
Cool, cool.
All right, the last two penguin genuses, they each only have one species. So instead of doing the Latin name of the genus, I'm just going to talk about the species. First is the yellow-eyed penguin, which lives on the coast of New Zealand. Like all penguins, it is black on its back, white on its stomach, but it also has a little band of yellow. And not like the eyebrow yellow, but kind of
Mm.
just like a like flush band of yellow. And its eyes are like very yellow. They are a little more pale, so it's not quite like the deep black that you might associate with a penguin on its back. It's a little grayer, it's a little more pale. And there's not that much else interesting about that, but I just wanted to build up to our final penguin, which I know for a fact is a favorite of one of our podcast listeners in particular, the little penguin. The
Mm.
little penguin is the only species in its genus. It is the smallest penguin. It's about a foot tall, weighs about three
Oh,
pounds.
it's that small, the
It's that
little
small.
penguin.
So to put it in perspective, if you stacked like three little penguins, three to four little penguins on top of each other, you'd get the height of an emperor penguin.
Hmm.
But in order to equal the weight, you'd need to gather like 30 little penguins to equal the weight of one emperor penguin. So
Hmm.
that's interesting proportions there. They live in New Zealand and Australia. They're also known as the fairy penguin and the little
Hmm.
blue penguin and the blue penguin. So if you hear any of those things, it's all referring to the same one. And for a nice fun fact, not like a mean fun fact, they are, unlike a lot of the other penguin species we're talking about, they're not endangered at all. On the like endangered scale, you have like extinct on one end, least concern on the other end. They're least concern. So they're thriving. They're doing really well. So way to go, little penguin.
Good for the little penguin. I did not know they were that small and that light. You can get
Yeah.
like a life-size like plushie or a doll of a little penguin, I
Yeah,
guess.
it'll weigh like about the same too. So
Wow. That's
pretty
wild.
funny. Yeah.
Good for the little penguin. Least concern.
Yeah. It's really it's living its life well. So clearly, I didn't mention every species, but I mentioned all the genuses. There's a wide variety of penguins. They have pretty varying physical characteristics. So I think collectively they take gold in every event, but I think there's going to be some specialists. So
Okay.
I'd like to go over a couple of events. I want to pose which penguin I think will be the best at that event. Let me know what you think. So first,
Sure.
this is a relatively new Winter Olympic sport, I think. It's called skimo. You know what skimo is?
Never heard of Schemo.
Short for ski mountaineering. So, most of the time they're doing like downhill ski races. In this
Hmm.
case, it's some downhill, some flat, and some uphill. So they're skiing
That
uphill.
just sounds terrible.
Yeah, so what you have
If
to
you've ever
do,
been skiing, skiing
yeah,
uphill sounds terrible.
terrible. You have to put these special skins on the bottom of your skis for when you're going uphill, so they're sticky. And so
Oh,
you
okay.
don't take them off. You keep your skis on, you just kind of like march up the hill, and then you have to
Got it.
rip those skins off and go down.
Mm.
So it if we're going like up and down rugged terrain, I think there's a penguin to me that sticks out as one that excels at that. It's even in their name, the rockhopper penguin.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I was thinking you might go with one of the brush tails for like, extra appendage, get a little, more traction in there. But yeah, rock hopper makes sense.
That does make a lot more sense. I wish I had thought of that, but I wanted to talk about rockhopper penguins, so here we are. There are two rockhoppers. There's the northern rockhopper penguin and the southern rockhopper penguin. They're mostly in like South America and Antarctica. But I couldn't find any data on which of them is better at leaping. So I think we can enter both of them. They'll take home the gold and the silver. Little
Perfect.
two for one action there. Great. Next sport I want to talk about, one you've already mentioned, luge.
Hmm.
We talked about this. They go really fast. It's scary. I don't think I could ever do luge. And they're going.
What's the difference between like luge and like skeleton and like
I'm not
skeleton like
sure.
head first, luge is like feet first or something?
I'm not sure about skeleton. I know luge because I was just watching it is feet first, and it's only one person. But like
Mm,
bobsled, you have like four people, or sometimes only two
right.
people, like jumping into the sled. Yeah, all of them sound scary to me, but they all do involve sliding kind of on your belly, but sliding through ice. And as we talked
Hmm.
about, penguins are pretty good at this. So I couldn't find any information in my research about which penguin can slide the fastest. If you try to look up like what penguin walks the fastest, which one slides the fastest, which one jumps the highest, the only thing that shows up is which one swims the fastest, which I'll get to
Hmm.
later, but there's just like nothing on the first two pages of Google about it. So that's
Got it.
what I base all my research on.
That's some deep
Um,
research. Second page of
I
Google as
know,
well.
second
Wow.
page. I'm an SEO guy, so I know that sometimes there's some hidden gems on the second page of Google. But
Okay, good to know.
penguins slide around. They have this special oil on their feathers that like ducks have that lets them be basically waterproof. It also helps them slide across ice, which is itself already pretty slippery. But they do this because a lot of them they have to kind of go pretty far distances on land. And if you're a penguin and your feet are optimized for swimming, walking's not the easiest thing. But if you're like a big old penguin, like the emperor penguin, and you can just slide around on your belly, that's way more efficient and it's faster. So
Hmm.
I think going with the emperor penguin for this one makes sense. There's actually a term for this behavior. It's called tobogganing, which is pretty cool.
Tobogganing. Okay.
Yeah. Like this.
I thought you were gonna go with Emperor Penguin, but I mean I don't know, the meta for luge or bobsled or whatever. But I had to, gravity because you're going somewhat downhill, right? I thought heavier would be better, so maybe Emperor Penguin would be better.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between the Emperor and the King because the King is like almost as big but lighter. So
Hmm.
there's kind of that like less friction, but then less, gravity.
Yeah.
So, but I figured since the Emperor Penguin spends all of its time in Antarctica, probably spends a lot more time sliding around on the ice. So it's just
That's
a
a good
little more
point.
practiced, I think.
Cool, cool.
Also, it's got a lot of extra padding. And if you've seen like luge, they're smacking all around in that tunnel, and like that sounds like it would hurt. So if you're an emperor
Yeah.
penguin, just a little more protection there.
Yeah, the longevity in the sport for the Emperor Penguin is definitely going to be higher.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Emperor penguins, by the way, can live over 20 years. The oldest one was thought to have lived to at least 50 years. So pretty
Wow, very
big
cool.
penguins there. Yeah. All right. Unironically, my favorite winter sport, I know people say this as like a joke. Unironically, my favorite winter sport is curling. And I can't explain why. I spent like 3 hours watching curling one day, and it's just like something in my brain clicked. And now I think of everything in like curling terms. But it's an interesting one because it's not like the one that is the most physically demanding, right?
Right.
It's
It's a
it's
finesse sport.
It's a finesse sport, involves using tools, which most penguins aren't doing, and
Hmm.
involves kind of playing with a ball, for a lack of a better term. It's not a ball, it's called a stone. But there is, as I've mentioned earlier, a certain type of penguin that will show up quite often at aquariums or zoos. And where I grew up, the Mystic Aquarium, they had the African penguins there. And they
Hmm.
had some, enrichment items in their enclosure, including balls. And they would play with these balls. They, would throw them around, they'd bonk them around, they'd chase them in the water. So I think that's the only penguin I know of that I've seen use a tool. So I think it's a good start for curling. And then one other thing I did want to mention about penguins is during mating season, it seems like most penguins do this. They will present stones to their potential mates as kind of like presents.
Hmm.
I have heard that us humans, we kind of overblow how important that is just because like it's kind of cute and fun to think about. But they do it. It is like a thing they do. And the thing you throw in curling is also called a stone. So stone and stone. It works out.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I did not know there was. Oh, okay. I guess I did know there was South African penguins, but I didn't know there were Namibian penguins. So
Yep, they go
really
because
cool.
Namibia is right next to South Africa, so they just kind of
Yeah,
go right into the coast there. They're all on the coast, so like if you're inland, you're not going to
that's
see
true.
anything,
I
but
guess I
they're on
just
the
think of the
coast.
Namibian desert,
Yeah.
and so I guess more on the coast makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very cool, very finessey penguin, I think. Hockey. There's not a lot of team sports at the Winter Olympics, but
Mm,
hockey is one of them. It's kind of probably the main team sport. I'm not necessarily a hockey expert. I, kind of understand some of the rules. I know the basic premise of hockey to score more goals than your opponent, but I do know that you have to be strong. You have
mhm.
to be graceful, you're ice skating, and above all else, you got to be scrappy. They're always getting into fights. They're always
Yeah.
like they're getting injuries that would knock most people out for weeks, and they just get right up and they keep going. So I had to think about a penguin that was especially scrappy. And in this case, I did go with the king penguin, the emperor penguin's little brother. So they are slightly smaller, but they're still big and strong. They kind of have that underdog mentality, and they have to face the same types of predators that emperor penguins face, which are some
Hmm.
big, scary ones. Orcas, leopard seals, chasing them around in the
Leopard
water.
seals.
Even like there's some huge seabirds that'll attack them, from the air. So giant
Really?
petrels are
Wow.
one of them. Yeah. So they kind of got to be on their toes. They got to be able to fight back from a disadvantaged position. They're not as big as their emperor penguin siblings, but they find a way. You know, they're kind of all arounders. I think they're not the fastest swimmers, but they're not the slowest. They aren't the most efficient on land, but they still find ways to make it around, including tobogganing. I think team full of king penguins do pretty well in hockey.
Yeah. I also don't know much about hockey. I know there's a team called the Penguins.
There is.
You think their logo is a king penguin?
Ooh, I'm gonna look at it really quick. Let's see. I know this is riveting podcasting, me looking at my phone. Let's look up the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'll put one on screen, the logo on screen too, just so we can see. It
I don't think so.
maybe not. It's more of just like a penguin. I don't think it's a specific one.
Yeah.
Body shape wise, though, it could be a king or an emperor.
Hmm.
Let us know in the comments if you know the history of the Pittsburgh Penguins logo.
The more I'm looking at it, the more it could fit. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. If they added a
Yeah.
little more color to it, it's very
Yeah.
minimalistic, this logo. So it's just
Hmm.
omitting some of the colorful parts. But I think it works.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
Great. All right, this next one, I haven't decided on a winner. I'm gonna need your help to decide on a winner. Um,
Okay.
the sport is figure skating, right? And
Mm,
skating requires, an incredible amount of strength, technique, timing, training. I can't pretend to know anything about it. I can ice skate around in a circle very slowly, but it isn't measured the same way some of these other sports are, where like hockey is
yeah.
like how many goals you score versus how many goals the other person scores. Curling is can you get the stone closest to the middle? And like the other events, skiing, speed skating, it's timed. So it's just based on timing. But figure skating is about getting the highest score from the judges. So it's a mix of like playing to the judges, presenting yourself well, and then also performing these like amazing feats. So penguins, they're all basically equally graceful. You know, they're all very graceful things. My cat is meowing in her sleep. Sorry about that. But I don't have the skill to judge a penguin on its, technique. So I'm going purely on aesthetics for this one, presentation.
Okay.
If there are any figure skaters listening, I know that that is not what your sport is. It's not just about looking nice, but this is the conceit that we're using for the podcast, so it's okay. So here are my top three finalists. First, I'm going to go with the chinstrap penguin. I said their beard looks a little funny, but that line is very crisp. It is very precise. That takes a lot of technique. It takes a lot of patience to grow a beard like that. I know the
And
penguin
you
just
want
does it
to
naturally, but
and in these types of events, you want to stand out.
yeah,
You don't want to be good but like fade into the background. You want to be unique.
yeah,
So,
you want to
I
be
think that's
noticeable. Okay,
yeah.
so that's a good one. Next, I have to put a crested penguin in there because they have these amazing eyebrows. I'm going to go with the
Hmm.
Fjordland penguin. F
I'll have to
I
look that up.
O R L D land penguin. Doesn't
That's
get as
not
much
how I would
shine.
have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
From New Zealand. Doesn't get as much shine as like macaroni penguins or rockhopper penguins, but I think it delivers in that underdog role. You kind of have to have a bit of an underdog mentality, and I think their eyebrows are the best of all the crested penguins, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking bird. I'm looking at it right now.
So I think that's our underdog. I think the chin strap is kind of the, consistently does decently. But now I think we have the odds-on favorite. I can't not mention it, the little penguin. You know, it's not flashy, but it's consistent. They're always there. They're not endangered. They're doing great. And they have the advantage of being tiny and being blue, both of which stand out from other penguins. So, blue, they're not like blue jay blue, but
Right.
instead of like pure black, it is pretty blue. And so that stands out. I think the little splash of color puts them into the favorite spot. So you have our contestants. You've seen their routines. What do you think is the best?
This is an interesting short list because before you even said anything, I was like, okay, yeah, little penguin. But I did not know what the Fiordland penguin was. I looked it up. Looks really cool. Chinstrap penguin, I think definitely underrated. More of like a minimalistic, modern looking penguin, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, it's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're all gonna be graceful. They're all gonna do their thing, right? But who's really gonna stand out? I know they were a dark horse, and I know I just found out about them, but I think I'm gonna go with the Fiordland penguin.
All right. Fjordland Penguin, congratulations. You've got your gold medal. I think that's a great choice. I also had not heard of them before I prepped for this episode, but they're great. I really like them.
Yeah. Wait, so it was all up to me?
It was all up to you. You were the
Oh,
judge.
dang, I didn't know that. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I would have thought about it a little more. No, 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 no. The Fjordland penguin wins figure skating.
Yeah, stand by your choices. All right. So I'm sure some people listening have been shouting at their screen. I know we have a lot of passionate fans. I'm sure you've been shouting at your screen that, the Winter Olympics are happening now, but in the Southern Hemisphere, it is summer right now. So that's where most of our penguins live. So I do think we need to mention a few non-winter sports.
Hmm.
First, I mentioned it earlier, but there is one penguin that stands above the rest in terms of swimming, the fastest penguin. It's the Gentoo penguin, which is one of the
Ooh,
brush-tailed penguins.
I've
Yep,
heard
like
of the
the
Gentoo
Adelaide and the
penguin.
chinstrap.
Yeah.
They swim as fast as 22 miles an hour. You know how fast Michael Phelps swam at his like absolute peak when he was racing a great white shark? This is real. This happened.
Yeah, I think it sounds super slow just because, so water and air, totally different mediums through which movement occurs.
Yep.
But I think Michael Phelps might have topped out at like what, like 4 or 5 or something.
During his like Olympic races, it was right around there. Apparently, when he was racing this shark, he topped out at 8, but I think that was probably for like 3 strokes, right? Um,
Wait, no, I thought you were joking. What do you mean he raced a great white shark? What does that mean?
he like was in a pool or like a, somewhere where there was a barrier between him and the shark, and they
Yeah,
raced.
interesting.
Just like a thing, back in the day. It was like a thing people used to do,
Yeah.
you know.
So imagine like 5 to 8 miles an hour for Michael frickin' Phelps
hmm
versus 22 for the Gen 2 Penguin.
Literally swimming laps around Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
So
wild.
pretty good. I also want to bring up sumo wrestling. I don't believe
Okay.
sumo, yeah, I don't think it's part of either the
I was
Winter
gonna
or
say,
Summer Olympics, but
yeah.
it is a sport and it's pretty interesting. There are no weight classes in sumo, so you can be like gigantic and be facing off against someone who's like 150 pounds. It's just sumo. You go against who you go against. But there is a specific penguin that I think would have excelled. And I'm not talking about the emperor penguin. I'm talking about a prehistoric penguin. This was interesting. I just wanted to bring it up. In 2023, I'm pretty sure, at least that's when the article is from, scientists in New Zealand found a gigantic prehistoric penguin fossil. So it was given the Latin name uh, Kumimanu fortisii. It was not given like a common name.
Okay.
But this thing was apparently about 5 feet 10 inches and 340 pounds, which is
That's like
quite
isn't
large.
that like a good size for like a offensive lineman or something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's
Yeah.
like ideal. According to the blog of some guy who went to Penn State when I was looking this up on Google, the average sumo wrestler weight is about 330 pounds. So the Kumimanu Fortisai, right in line with the average weight, I think it performed really well, and it's slippery. You know,
Mm, it's tough too. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's a great pick. Side note, I don't think sumo would ever be added into the Olympics because the Japanese would just dominate and the US can't get their, gold medal, so it just wouldn't be added.
Yeah, definitely not in the next Olympics, but
Yeah,
maybe after it moves away from the US.
maybe.
But so while you're watching these Winter Olympics, marveling at the peak of human performance, just know that penguins could do better in every single sport.
Yeah, we're pretty much inferior to them in the Winter Games. Can't lie.
hmm But I don't think any of them can hold a ping pong paddle. So come the Summer Olympics, we get our revenge. For our game today, we're returning to bird calls, but not the classic closing caw like you remember. Instead of listening and identifying, I just have trivia questions for you relating to bird calls.
Okay.
So, as you may be aware, some birds are named after their call, right? I think the most obvious one that springs to mind for me is the chickadee, named after their call, where they go chickadee dee 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 dee.
Sure.
Cuckoo birds, another example, really named after their call. So this game, since listening to things remotely is very difficult, that's why we're going with trivia instead. It'll be 3 rounds. I'm going to give you a group of 3 birds, and you got to tell me which one is named after its call. Simple enough?
Okay. Yep.
Cool. So first, round one, we have one, or A, I should say. A, bobolink. B, northern bobwhite. Or C, blue-footed booby.
Okay. Um, the Bob White, I think, is named after its haircut. So I don't think that's right. The Booby, I don't think that's right either. I haven't heard of a Bobolink. there's signs around John Hines that apparently there can be bobolinks. I've never seen a bobolink at John Hines. Have you?
They were reported. I kept trying to see them. I never saw one. They're a type of blackbird. They have kind
They're
of
a type of
a
blackbird. Yeah.
like yellowish on their like back of their head, or maybe on
Maybe
their
they've
throat. I can't remember.
maybe they've been in a flock of red-winged blackbirds and we've just missed them. But I'm gonna go with the bobolink.
It's a good guess. It is actually the northern bobwhite, if you can
What?
believe it. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It.
Hold up. Hold up.
Mhm.
Because for our season one finale, didn't someone send us a Bob White?
Yep.
Okay, so
Um,
I actually remembered that, but I didn't think it sounded like Bob White. Anyway.
yeah. So with any of these, it's kind of like you have to make it sound like the word in order to do it. But that is why they're called the bobwhite because they do it's a really high pitch. I'm gonna play it for the listeners now. But
Ah,
it's
that
really
makes
high
sense.
pitched and it's loud too. But
Hmm.
some people do think that the bobolink is named after its call, so it's a little tricky on my part. They say it sounds like someone saying the name Bobo Lincoln, Bobolink.
Bob Lincoln.
But that's actually not true. You can listen to the call. I'll play it now.
Yeah,
Does not
I
sound
guess
like Bobo Lincoln.
it's hard for a blackbird call to sound like anything
Yeah, because it's there's so much
word
going on.
wise. Yeah, yeah.
So but the where this like myth of the name comes from is Bob O. Lincoln is the name of a character in a poem by William Cullen Bryant, a 19th century American poet. The name of the poet was Robert, or the name of the poem is Robert O. Lincoln, and it's about a guy who is named after the bobolink. So the
Hmm.
bobolink came before Bob O. Lincoln, not the other way around.
It's good to know.
Yep. All right. So that one, all of the names, they all have B-O in them. So I thought that was kind of fun. Um, this next one, the names also are kind of similar. So I think that's fun too. Round two, we have A, the American pipit, B, the piping plover, or C, the pinyon jay.
I don't even know what a pinion is. A pinion J?
That's C. Yep, pinyon jay.
Okay. Mine initially goes to Pipit. Plover. I'm assuming they're calling it the piping plover. Actually, piping does sound kind of instrumental. Um, but I was thinking more based on its actions, it would be called a piping plover. I don't know what a pinion jay is. You've mentioned pipits a lot lately on the pod. You finally got to see one, right?
Nope, never saw
Oh,
one.
you still
My
haven't seen
parents
one.
did.
Your parents have seen
Hmm.
it. Okay. Um, Seems like the most likely to be similar to a call, pipit. I'll go with the pipit.
All right. Good guess. Pipit is the answer. I'll play the call now, and when you listen, you'll hear. It's one of these ones you kind of have to make it sound like it, but it's kind of like a pip
Hmm.
pip 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 pipit, kind of like that. So here it is.
Hmm.
Cool. All right, last
Great.
one. You're 1-1 right now. This determines if you win. So no
So I'm gonna
pressure.
lose.
All
Okay.
right. Round three. I have a group of three water adjacent birds that are just one word is their name. So
Okay.
A, Sora, B, Limpkin, or C, Killdeer.
Hmm. Okay. The Sora. We've seen the Sora. It's kind of a special guest at John Hines underneath
Yep,
the dock. I think we ever heard its call though. It was pretty quiet.
yep.
Limpkin, know what a Limpkin is, haven't heard of its call. The killdeer, haven't heard a killdeer in a long time. I can hear its call, so I can like picture its call, but is it like I don't know if it's named for the killdeer though, but I think that's. maybe I can stretch it into believing that. So I think I'll go with the killdeer.
Good guess. You win. It is the
Yeah.
killdeer. Yeah.
I haven't
Um,
heard one in a minute because like we used to
no.
hear them all the time at John Hines, and I just haven't heard it in a while.
Yeah, well, because like the shorebirds didn't really show up because of the lack of
Yeah.
water. But I'll play the killdeer sound now. This is the one that I think I have to stretch the most when hearing killdeer,
Yeah.
but you can kind of hear it's like killdeer. So
Yeah.
yeah, a good. I think something that I noticed when going through this was um, if you think about the words linguistically, the ones that have that are named after bird calls tend to be sounds that start with plosives. So like bobo link B is a plosive. It's kind of a sound that a bird can
That's not the
make.
right answer.
Well, yeah, sorry, Bob White.
Yeah.
Pipit, P's and T's are plosives, and then killdeer, K and D are also plosives. So like
Hmm.
words that have syllables that start with like kind of like hard consonants.
Mhm.
Those are typically the ones that are named after bird calls.
Cool. Yeah, killdeer, contrary to popular belief, not named because they kill deer.
No.
Named after their call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a nice little game to get back into the swing of things. Not too much going on, but well done. Well done.
Thank you. That was a good quiz, and thank you for the linguistics lesson on plosives.
Yeah. Yeah, big fan of very basic linguistics because I took one linguistics class in college. So,
Hmm.
um, well, that's our show for you folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Glad to be, doing this again.
Yeah, our first show back after a little bit of a hiatus, so show us some love. Share this with your friends who may not know we're back, with your family members who may not know that we're back. Send in your Who topics. Birds are real at Birds are real pod on Instagram. Birdsarereal.pod@gmail.com. Um, and yeah, let us know that you're happy to see us or hear us again.
Yeah. Words of affirmation are very
Huge.
important to the Birds Are Real podcast. So, thank you for your time. Thanks for your time, Keish. And we'll see you next time. Watch the Winter Olympics and pretend that penguins are doing it.